This podcast is for the daydreamers who like imagining new lives and new beginnings but don't quite know where to start. Hi, this is Julian from Rappler and you're listening to Teach Me Senpai. This is episode 12. Today we're hearing from travel and freelance writer Kara Santos. She has her own blog called Travel Up for people who want to level up their traveling game, and she also has an extensive background in print and digital media, including working for news publications, magazines, and so much more. This is a packed episode, so take your notebooks out and get ready. We start today's lesson by asking her why she likes to write. Hello, Kara.
Hi.
Hi, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna go ahead and ask my first question. And this is actually something that I've asked everyone that I've interviewed so far, and it's what is it about writing that interested you?
Okay. So writing for me, I mean, as an introvert, it's easier for me to process my thoughts when I have time to digest an experience. For example, I travel, and then after all that, I can go back and then think about what happened, have time to process it. Writing, when you see your work in print, there's something, it's tangible eh. It's parang when you see yung something you've written and then it's published finally, you'll see it in a magazine. It's like, wow. But you can relive that moment when you were traveling before, and then it's like down on a written page, permanent, na hindi, you know what I mean? Like, iba yung pag video eh. Video, like, or other sites like social media, parang fleeting eh. But it's something like I could have written something like 10 years ago, and it's still in a library or in a coffee shop somewhere. It's just sitting there, and parang going back to places. Minsan I see some of my work na naka-frame. Yung the places there, like cafes, they'll have the article that came out in print frame. Tapos parang you feel proud na yun, yung lumabas siya uli na yun, yung you were there and then you were part of that experience.
Ang ganda ng perspective. I've never thought about that, like when it comes to written work. Siguro kasi ako mostly, so I came from TV and then I did digital publication. I did for a while a magazine, pero we were mostly doing online na by then. So I guess yun yung na-miss ko about it, like seeing it printed and people cutting it.
I started kasi talaga sa print yung first, I mean, before websites, there's the broadsheets and then the travel magazines. They were popular back in like 2008, 2009, 2010, all of that.
I think also kasi pagka print, like when you see an article, kita mo agad lahat.
Yeah.
So, like when you scroll down, even if it's digital or if it's printed, unlike pag video or pag photo, parang you have to go frame by frame. So, I guess iba nga yung romantic feeling.
Yeah. Parang old school. It's like books eh.
Yeah.
I grew up with a family na my parents are also authors and educators. So, parang we grew up with books and printed material. So parang I guess that got instilled na yung love for print publications.
Oh. So you off camera you mentioned na you actually took psychology.
Yes.
So how did that happen na bigla kang naging writer?
Yeah. So my undergrad course was psychology, and my first job out of that was I worked in a non-government organization, and I was with the research and training department. Part of the work was going on field work, doing workshops, conferences in different places. And then I would be the one tasked to write yung minutes or yung documentation of the conference that's happening. And then for some reason, I enjoyed the travel part more. Parang yung hey, I'm already here in a place, I'll extend, I'll travel on my own, explore, since bayad na yung hotel, bayad na yung transpo and all that. I would use that to explore the place more and then travel. And then later on, I decided, hey, I should write this kasi sayang din naman yung material. Yeah. So, yun. Oh. So, later on, I would get invitations to, I would specifically look for work that involved travel. Even if it's writing annual reports, doing case studies of people for a certain company, like they needed someone to go there and interview like farmers in a community for their for their newsletter or something. I would do that because I wanted the travel opportunity. And then I had chances to travel even abroad just to document a conference or something for an environmental organization. So those experiences made me realize that it was really the travel that I was after, not really the work part and yung documenting part. It was yun.
I mean, it was part of it.
Yeah, it was part of it.
But you just realized lang na you enjoyed
Parang mas
travel.
fun yung travel aspect. I mean, I would do the work and then once that's done, you enjoy na. Ganun.
Would you mind if I ask kung which NGOs?
Before, my first job was with the Women's Crisis Center, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a bit, I mean, it's hard work because you did a lot of counseling, have to interview women in communities who were victims of violence against women and all that. But yeah, so we'd also write reports on it. So
okay, so coming from that experience, I know that you also took a course on writing specifically because this is something that you wanted to focus on. Maybe you can talk to us about that. What was that course, and parang I guess what were the main realizations that you had along the way while you were in that course?
Yeah. So after doing a string of different consultancy jobs and freelance writing gigs, I thought I might as well take a better course because psychology. My background is psychology. I wanted to do something more related to writing and media. There was a course with Konrad Adenauer Stiftung in Ateneo, Asian Center for Journalism. They had a diploma in photojournalism at the time, though I think now they've changed to diploma in visual journalism because some of the courses weren't just about taking photos. We were exposed in different beats. We had to do like sports reportage. We had to do we cover rallies. There's news reportage. There's feature writing, different aspects, just so that we'd know what kind of media work was. What kind of different formats there are that you can do in media. And there were some that I was really bad at, like sports. It's so hard to cover, like,
it is.
like basketball shoots and all that. And you also have to take photos and then news, finding news stories to write about. We had courses where some of the assignments were really interesting. Like we had to go to a historic quarter that we've never been before in for one assignment, and then just to take photos and find stories. But what I liked the most there was the feature writing course. I think it's my teacher there was Luz Rimban. So she gave us like assignments about how to hone your craft and all that. And then I think part of it was we had to try and submit our work somewhere and get it published. And at the time, a friend contacted me that another contact was looking for contributors to a new magazine. And then I tried. And then eventually it got published. And then from there, I tried to build more networks. During that course, we met a lot of media people, media practitioners who I was able to network with. Like, hey, if you need a contributor, if you need a freelance writer, photographer, I can pitch. So that led to a lot of opportunities. And
that was that published piece of work your first?
I think that was the first back in 2008, I think, for Enrich magazine, which is a health and lifestyle magazine of Mercury Drug. And they're still existing now. Wow. I'm happy to say a lot of magazines have come up, have just folded up, but because their backing is corporate, the magazine still exists, and it's a great avenue to still be able to publish in print, like anything to do with health, lifestyle, travel, tourism.
Yeah.
So
what did it feel like seeing your first piece of work like published on print?
Yeah. You can't beat that when you see it all, like your photos and your name. It's specifically seeing your byline in print. Kilig talaga eh. early on, I would really like, yung you'd gather the magazines, you'd really cut that out, lalagay mo pa sa clear book and everything. And yung talagang, I would collect all yung clippings anytime something came out. Later on, it got a bit tedious and then, ang dami ng magazine sa bahay. So, so I wasn't able to collect everything. But I would at least take a picture and then compile it in an album online. So, at least it's an online portfolio so that other publishers, other publications could see that, yeah, this is my body of work and this is what I can offer.
Yeah,
so,
pero I guess hindi siya as romantic.
Hindi
as
na nga eh.
seeing it on print. Ako din, may mga screen caps din ako of like things I wrote. And you're right, because like, I comparing it with my experience from TV. So when you're on TV, kasi unless you're like the reporter or the anchor, you don't really get to see your name on camera as much. May credits sa dulo, pero no one really looks at the credits. But the byline.
The byline is there. And yan, parang people will message you randomly, hey, I read your article, ganyan. So parang kilig na, no? Dati for in-flight magazines pa, someone would be flying and then they'd go somewhere, they'd see, hey, I read your article on, there was time Smile Magazine, Mabuhay.
Yeah.
So,
writing can be a full-time job. But Kara shares she isn't keen on working for just one company for many reasons. In the next part of this interview, Kara shares why she decided to start a freelance career rather than your conventional 9-to-5, and what perks she enjoys by having the freedom to choose her clients and her work. How did you set up a freelance career? Because usually, right out of college, for example, or right after you take a course, people would usually sign up for full-time jobs, full-time contracts. Pero to be a freelancer, parang I feel like that's such a brave step to take kasi you don't have like a regular paycheck, diba? So how did you set that up, and why did you choose to focus on freelancing?
Even before freelancing, I did have I did work full-time with some jobs, and like in between after taking the course, I also took on other like full-time, the traditional 9-to-5 full-time jobs. But for some reason, like I couldn't last. I could never last in having to go to the office every day. Yung daily struggles of commuting. Back then, mahirap pa talagang yung MRT to Makati and back. And then the costs also of going to work. I weighed it against like, how much am I actually saving from the income that I'm getting here versus how much am I spending every day in daily expenses versus if I'm able to write this many articles a month, parang weighing it, okay, it's not as stable, but I think I'd be able to save more by working from home. Yun yung thinking ko at the time. And then, like sometimes it's like the full-time jobs didn't really pan out, and then other opportunities came in for freelancing. So yeah, it sort of led me that may path na talagang it doesn't seem to be pushing me that way. I don't know.
Oh, okay. How would you compare, I guess, yung other experiences being part of a company full-time and being a freelancer? Like, what other comparisons have you noticed?
Yeah. Like writing, you can do anywhere, anytime. You have the freedom and flexibility to write as much as you want, or if you're not feeling it today, like hopefully you'll get that spark tomorrow, and you'll just have to make up for not having any output that day. But when you work full time, whether or not you're in the mood to work, you have to.
Oh my gosh! Yeah.
So. And I don't know if I was made for that, because I did try it and I had to do it for some time. But there was just this feeling of exhaustion and stress that yung working also with other people all the time. Siguro as an introvert din, I'm more used to doing things on my own and then just contacting people when, yung just through email, ganon. But yung having to be around a lot of people all the time, it's really not for me. Oh. That's what I realized.
Okay.
And so office environment, okay naman siya once in a while. But from my experience, this was before the pandemic. yun, I realized hindi talaga siya for me. And there are some people na ganun talaga. I mean, there are people who work well with teams or who get energy from other people, and there are people who just can't function well in a team setting. So, yun.
Sa akin, baliktad. So, I need someone to tell me that. Kailangan mo na magsulat. Because otherwise, I feel like I wouldn't be doing anything. Or I'd be so distracted doing so many other
that's hard though. If you're working on your own, you're responsible for everything. You're your own boss. You have to impose deadlines on yourself because you'll be tempted to not do anything all day, diba?
So how do you do that? How do you motivate yourself to meet deadlines?
You need income kahit papaano. So parang I try to set deadlines like a monthly quota of this is how much I need to write per month, or I use like calendar events na sige parang I'll write around this certain issue or theme kasi this is what's like in magazines, a lot of it is you have monthly deadlines, and these are done like 2-3 months ahead. So it could be like it's June and you're already thinking of the December issues or your Christmas articles. So yun, parang you also have to make a list and always think 2 steps ahead.
How do you find freelance gigs? As a writer, I feel like a lot of people ask this question, like, where do you find work? Kasi you have a quota. You want to reach a certain number of articles, a certain amount of income per month.
Networking is really important. So a lot of my freelance gigs come from referrals, like people I've worked with in the past. It's a mix of I also actively apply, but sometimes like publications have their own teams, they have their own contacts, so you have to build networks. You have to if you know the editors, if you know other writers from different publications, it helps to like when you attend events, you also introduce yourself, offer that this is what I can do, I've written for so and so publication, if you're open to contributions, I'm willing to do that. So there are also online sources, like there's a Freelance Writers Guild of the Philippines. If people are interested, they can try to join that for the network and sharing of contacts and all that. But it's mostly personal. I have to say it's personal connections. Once you know someone, like if you know the editor of a publication, it's easier to pitch and get articles approved. And that's the problem when once your contact there is severed, like wala na, parang even if you try to pitch to the new editor, minsan hindi ka napapansinin kasi may sariling ano na yan, may sariling team na yan. They want to bring in their own like friends or so yun. It's kind of
so
it can be hard.
It's also like a lot of extroverted work.
But what's good is if you do find a publication that treats you well, like you also try to make yourself more valuable to them. Like if they're only open to a few articles, maybe you try to come up with a deal na like maybe pwedeng fixed number of articles per month. It can be like the rates can be negotiated or something, but at least you will have a secure parang doon na yung quota mo. Yung buhay ka na, basically. So, yun.
So, all that's left to do is to do the job well.
And also deliver consistently because deadline-driven din yung other publication. So, you have to take on what you can really... I mean, if you're gonna say that you're submitting this, yung talagang submit on time, ganon. Hindi siya yung promise and then hindi ka rin makaka-deliver. So.
You mentioned rates. And this is a common question for freelancers, whether or not writers sila or they do videos or they do photos, is figuring out kung ano yung rate that they want to charge or even being able to impose a certain rate. So in your case, how do you determine kung ano yung rate mo? Like, you don't have to say the number. And then, if you have any idea of a good, I guess, estimate. Say, for example, you're starting out pa lang as a writer. Like, what's a good estimate to give a new contract or something?
The Freelance Writers Guild of the Philippines came out with a suggested rate card for, I think last year they released it. I think the average is 297 or 3 pesos per word. The high is like 25 pesos per word. That's like really aiming high given local industry standards. A lot of magazines and broadsheets, sadly, some of them are pay within the average range. Others, especially for new writers who are willing to just publish just with for the experience. There have been cases in the past where publications will take advantage of that you get published for the, just for the exposure, which has sadly affected the whole freelance industry. But yun, it's up to the writer if they want to. I mean, it's a great guide. And I think it's fair if the publications would also follow it. Some kasi have their own, like when you pitch to them, they will say that this is how much we pay upfront. They'll tell you this are rates, this is how much per word count, ganyan. So even if you impose mahirap, so you can negotiate, or if you find ways to increase that, if you find it too low, then you can always step away, or you can offer some other value added thing, like I can also do photos, so maybe that would increase the rate, or you have to like provide other skills that maybe they hadn't thought of dun sa original na rate card. But sadly, a lot of publications will tell you this is their standard rate. So yun.
So, okay, if that is the scenario with most publications, are there other avenues for a writer to be able to earn more? Like, say, for example, okay, this is a famous publication. You want to be in there for the exposure, to get your byline in there. You're going to get good SEO from that. Pero are there other avenues then na you can tap to make up for yung magiging quote-unquote loss mo from doing that job?
Actually, I started my blog in 2011 because a lot of, like, not everything I wrote for print would be published, or like there'd be so many other stories that you can still say. So yung personal blog, travelingup.com, I can put anything I want there as the editor, as the writer. Like I can publish whatever I want. So that helped me build also yung portfolio. And then it was a great avenue just for I wanted I wanted to write certain things that I wasn't able to publish in other publications. Yeah.
Kara's personal blog, Travel Up, is a creative outlet and also a source of income. Up next, we ask her about the kinds of travel stories she likes to tell and tips for newbie writers. Speaking of your blog, so your blog is all about traveling.
Yes.
You mentioned kanina how much you enjoyed travel. How do you then create stories out of your travels?
So 2011, I was invited. An editor of a publication at the time asked me if I could cover this week-long event for them. The thing with full-time staff is like they don't have time to go on all these trips, and then it's a sponsored trip all around North Luzon. They needed just someone to write about it. So after that, talagang I fell in love with traveling. And then aside from traditional media people and magazine writers, I met a lot of travel bloggers. This was like 2011 pa lang. So konti pa lang there was no video. I mean, parang wala pang vloggers noon. So and then I asked them how did they start. So from there, I built yung blog ko, and then that became yung platform ko for yung sharing other stories. And then right now, yung writing the stories for travel, it's based on my interests, based also on what I think other people would be interested in. Lately, I've been using more yung search engine optimization, to see like what are people searching for, and then you can like answer that then through yung travel stories, mga new destinations, new places to visit. The pandemic, unfortunately, like I feel really bad because like you built this whole. I mean, I wrote a lot about places, but since the pandemic happened, like a lot of the guides are no longer that relevant because a lot of places have closed down. Like the routes are different, ferries, bus, so parang you're starting from scratch now. Na yung post-pandemic, I'm trying to rebuild like what's the kind of information that people will be looking for when it comes to travel, and then build from there.
Right, because it's not evergreen anymore. Whereas before, things would still apply years after mo sinulat siya, diba?
Yeah.
Like it's so easy to Google and then
pandemic talaga. Wala.
Yeah,
Ang daming bago. Even yung familiar destinations, you go back, hey, wala na tong hotel, wala na yung iba na yung, diba? So, it's tough.
How do you choose which places do you go to?
Which places to go to? Okay. So, there was a time when I was just traveling randomly, whatever's near, parang weekend, o sige, kung ano na lang malapit, let's just go there.
And that's good. Like, that's a good opportunity.
Yeah. So, and then later on, I came across this Lakbayan map. People were shading, like, how many provinces have you visited? And then, at the time, like, 2016, something like that, when I tried to do it, my score was parang halfway through na ako sa Philippines doing all that other freelance stuff. And then I was thinking, hey, doable pala to. I can actually, if I travel more intentionally or like really seek out these places, I can really like go all over the map. So that's when I started just seriously picking the places that I hadn't been to, or picking them na, sige, just so that I can like visit all the 80, at the time 81 provinces, naging 82 na. So, 82 provinces of the Philippines. And then one by one, bucket list, looking for opportunities to travel, if there's like assignments there, if there are events happening. So, that's how I did it. And then, thankfully, natapos ko naman ng 2019, and then the pandemic hit. So, yun.
So, are you gonna re-travel all over?
Yeah, that was the plan. I mean, I want to do a reset sana of like everything, kasi there's just so much happening. But like that took time.
Yeah,
and that took a lot of money and resources din. So parang right now it's not really in the cards na. I mean, if I have a chance to do it, I've been wanting to do other things then, like Philippine Loop, ganun, by motorcycle, but that doesn't cover everything. But yeah, I have a bucket list of places I want to visit or revisit after the pandemic. Right now, since a lot of those were solo trips, which can get lonely, to be honest. I've been traveling a lot more with my husband, and I've been traveling with my parents, seniors. So, parang, since the pandemic, they also realized, life's short, you might as well. So, it's been great going back to places that I went to before, and then at least now, you get to experience it differently when you're with someone else. So,
these are places like, I know you went to Danang, right?
Yes.
And then you also went to Bangkok?
Danang and Hanoi, yung most recent this year. Because Cebu Pacific has a new flight to Danang. So we did we flew to Hanoi and then did an internal flight to Danang and then flew back to Danang, Manila.
Wow.
So you can cover both destinations in one trip.
Oh, madaling araw pa rin ba? Yung flights. Because before it was like 12 midnight.
Yeah, parang we arrived 2 a.m. Ganon. So,
same experience. I've been to Hanoi. Like, Hanoi is one of my favorite cities. So I've been there several times. Yeah. And laging ganun yung flights. Like, you arrive at 2 a.m.
Very surprising yung Danang for me. Kasi first, I wasn't expecting anything much, but very modern, very advanced.
Oh.
Yeah. And then it had a lot of historical destinations na malapit. So, and Hanoi was great. Ang ganda ng weather. Winter nung pumunta kami. So,
same. I also went there nung winter. I was wearing 3 layers of clothes.
I didn't even know na it got that cold when you think of Vietnam, kasi parang, di ba, parang tropical, similar to Bangkok. Pero
no, hindi. It's actually cold.
So
depende.
Nice.
If you're up north.
Yeah, it's north.
Speaking of interesting things that you've experienced though in your travels, what stories are you most proud of that you were able to write?
Stories. On the blog, I have a few articles na when I reread them, parang I feel parang proud or like natuwa ako. Yes, I wrote this. Parang ganun. So there was one na yung Marsh Magic, Ausan Marsh Wildlife Sanctuary. So I went there solo trip.
Ausan del Sur?
Yeah, I slept sa yung floating village within the marsh. And then I wrote about it. And that's where Lolong was captured before. And then the whole experience, napak-surreal niya. Like, the place is like unlike anything I've been to in the Philippines. And then I feel like when I wrote it, I was able to capture the essence of that. Like, how it was riding a boat. Yung feeling mo there are crocodiles beside you or something. The place just felt so vast. And then you felt so small. Just you're in this marsh, in this swamp area. So yun, happy about that article. There's one I wrote nung early days of my blog. It was about covering an Aita Food Forest Festival. I can share the link. But it's like, at the time, I wasn't even after the hits or search engine. You just write from the experience. You write about like what it is, yung being taken into the community, like witnessing their traditional food, dances, and all that. Parang I feel now, nahirapan na ako magsulat na ganun eh. Kasi at the time, parang hindi pa jaded na. You just write yun nga from experience. And then, now kasi parang ang dami nang iisip na, I have to make this search and I have to make this optimized. I have to make it like a listicle so that people will read it, or like I have to put all the useful information na itinerary, ganyan. Pero parang back then, I would write just what I wanted to write.
Mas romanticized.
Romanticized.
So having like those technical needs kind of, I guess, removed yung rose-colored glasses.
Yeah, I try to balance it pa rin. Like I'll do the articles that I know will rank well based on yung hits. Like kasi you can see naman what are your most read posts, and then you can like just copy the format, mga 10 things to do and ganyan. But then like once in a while I will get this urge to write yung experiential pa rin. Like another post pala is I wrote about a 4-part series about motorcycling all around Samar Island.
Wow.
So, yun, solo trip yun. And then I just rented a motorcycle, and then I went all around the island. And then just the chance encounters. And it's not like anything Instagrammable or anything. Like, it's not your traditional travel story na this is where you should stay. It was more about the encounters, how I felt at the time. So, yun. I guess once in a while, yun. At least the blog is there for yung times na yung parang gusto mo lang magsulat.
Yeah. May creative outlet ka pa rin.
Outlet pa rin, yun.
Na you're still like in control and you're just enjoying
and you're not thinking of it na how will this look like in a magazine format, or how will it look like will people really be able to use this? It's just they're parang expressing lang your thoughts at the time.
So what I'm hearing is while you're still working on yung being technical, wanting to get the hits, wanting to do something that you feel like would perform well, would get eyeballs on your article, you're still able to find moments of happiness.
Yeah, that's the thing. Kasi like, I know if I want the hits, or like I have other gigs where SEO is really important, and then I will write with a certain audience in mind, with a certain like it's for a client or something. So I can do that, and then separate. I'll just write for the heck of it, just for fun, for the self-expression, and those you don't get that kasi with other publications. Parang yung fulfillment lang na you're able to tell the story.
Yeah. You also recently wrote about for The Lonely Planet, and Lonely Planet. Oh my gosh! How did that come to fruition?
So, a travel friend of mine contacted me one time, I think last year. She said another person in this chat group was looking for a writer from the Philippines and from different countries like Vietnam, Cambodia. They were looking for a local writer to contribute to Lonely Planet Philippines. Lonely Planet the guidebook, because they were doing an update of the different guidebooks. So she gave me the contact. I emailed here. Here's my blog. Here's like everything. Like yun. And then after a screening process, they contacted me. They invited me to write. The first part is like the introduction to the Philippines in the guidebook. So parang wow, I have to write like at first 750 words na describe who are the Filipino people, what makes us, what's the essence of being a Filipino. So parang wow. Kasi they had other writers who did all the research part, the itineraries, the guides, but they want, and these are usually Western kasi they have their own team, diba? But they wanted to include at least someone from the Philippines to write. So I thought that was great initiative kasi, I mean, who else better to say than someone from there? And then they're doing it in different countries. And then right now it's in the production process. We just got the proofs this week. So I saw it laid out na. Pero yung ipiprint pa lang for July ang release.
Gosh.
So nakita ko na siya, tapos my byline was there, and then yung parang wow! I can't wait to hold it na yun talagang actual book. And then to think na, kasi like before travel blogs, I was relying on guidebooks like this. When I would go to Sagada, I'd go to it's you go through it, you check out the recommendations, and then to think na, yay, I'm actually gonna be in this book and someone else will be reading it and getting to travel. So,
I feel like the younger generation would probably like go to TikTok. I still think like if you want like credible guides, like the Lonely Planet is a good place to start. Because I mean, these are people who have actually done their research, and it's not just like some random person making videos.
Yeah, that's the thing. At least like sa blog and sa print, searchable. I don't know about how TikTok works, but at least if you want to reach din an international international contacts, it's good to have work na they can understand din. It's hard to search din through TikTok, especially if it's not in English. Like, I mean, of course, you want to reach din yung massive audience, but at least yung subtitles, I guess, important din yun.
I noticed on your blog and on your social media that you also work with brands. So you recently featured the Honor phone. You worked with Mercury, through Enrich, things like that. How do you usually, I guess, pitch your stories? Or how does that usually work? Are you the one pitching, or do they have like a campaign and then you sign on with the campaign and say, hey, I can write for you, so here are my services?
In the past, most of them, they're the ones who approached me. So there would be companies like for example, hotels, they'd reach out, they'd invite, are you open to collaborations? We'd like to invite you to stay in this hotel, and all expense paid, ganyan, just in exchange to feature it on your blog. So it's that's one avenue of doing it. Others like yung X-Deal type na yung you do like reviews, or you do they'll lend a certain unit. For example, I also do motorcycle reviews and e-bike. So some of them like they just want the product featured, and then for me, it's like it's content. I mean, it gives me access to something that other people don't have yet. So it I feel like it's good then for brand building. But you also have to assess. Like some people can also charge if you feel like you don't want to work with a certain brand, and this has happened. Like I don't feel like it's a good fit, so I'll give them like a high rate or something. And then kung kumagat, sige din. At least I get paid for it. I'll treat it like an advertorial na lang. Ganun. So I'll write about a certain place or ano. And then for me, disclaimer naman. So advertorial.
I think that's important.
But there are some things like you really want to go there anyway. So I'll accept it. So yun.
In your career, was there ever a point that you felt like you made a mistake, if you don't mind me asking? And how did you overcome that situation?
I wouldn't say really a mistake, but I mean, there are always opportunities to learn. And I guess one thing that I kind of regret not doing is like during the pandemic, I didn't pivot early enough. Like a lot of travel bloggers I know used that time to convert their old content into videos. They did podcasts. They explored new formats to reach new audiences because I admit like the hits got really low. No one was traveling ng pandemic. So parang you have to find different avenues. And yun, that was a time na you had time to process. I had all the time in the world, Sana, to learn video editing or something, but I didn't. So I mean, I guess what I can do is just moving forward, look to those formats. Like I've been resistant kasi for the longest time to TikTok, and I know it takes a certain personality rin to build a following, and I feel like my writing work will suffer if I also have to do the actual shooting and actual editing. And right now, parang I feel like my strengths are more in writing, so I'll just stick with that and then maybe explore a little bit. But yun nga, parang I think upskilling is really important kasi the media landscape has changed so drastically. It's print, media, social media. Parang you have to be able to adapt. Like a lot of that was the fault of print rin before. They weren't able to adapt to online fast enough. So and then a lot of them just, disappeared or like folded up. So yun, if you want to maintain a certain brand din, and then for my blog, I guess you have to explore din the yung newer forms of media, short form
Yeah.
media.
I mean, so that's one thing, TikTok. How about AI? What do you feel about AI? And have you ever had an opportunity to play with AI?
AI is scary because it could be taking over writing jobs. Like you put a prompt and then it can quickly whip up an article. But the thing about AI is, it's done by, it's not, there's something fake about it. There's something,
right?
It's too perfect. It's too manufactured. It doesn't feel human. And when you're reading something, this was written by AI. This is not a human person talking. But I do admit that AI it can be very useful as a tool for writers. Like I have used like Grammarly for at least for spell checking and all that. And I tried experimenting before, like I convert this article I wrote into a TikTok script just to see what would how it would come up. And then when I read it, it's like, it doesn't sound like me at all. So because I don't like doing TikTok, so I was thinking, sige, I'll make AI do it for me. But yeah, I didn't like how it came out. But at least I can see the structure and all that. And the thing about AI, I've seen like there are so many sites now that are just scraping content from other people, using AI to like rewrite it, and then like coming up with using fake photos. Pati yung photos, alam mong like they'll say this is in the Philippines, and because you've been there, that's not there.
Yeah.
It's just some random parang market scene ganyan.
Yeah.
So nakakainis kasi like you wrote that, or like it links back to your blog as a source, but it's been rewritten So yun.
And I think the hard part about that too is you know that the information there may not be, but readers won't know. Yeah. I mean, sure, maybe someone more discerning might, pero like if you're just scrolling past things, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. Bleak as that may sound. How about for people who want to learn more about writing? Do you have any recommendations? Books, articles that they may be able to read so that they can improve their own writing? Apart from reading your blog and seeing how you write.
I guess if you want to pitch for the traditional media, like websites or magazines, you have to read the actual product, see what kind of articles they write, that they're publishing, and then try to pitch similar angles with your own spin. For in terms of there used to be like workshops for travel writing. I don't know if companies are still doing that now, because there's so much information online now. You can take like all these short courses and all that. But there's one useful book, A Guide to Side Hustling. I think I have a copy. I'll show it later. By Carlo Opled. Sweldo is Not Enough.
Okay.
A digital guide. Useful siya if you want to learn the the technical side of yung travel blogging and how to monetize your blog and other like it's not about writing per se, but it's about like yung freelancing, the aspect of that you need to know to earn.
Yeah.
So, yun. I mean, it can apply to other things, but very useful siya. I just read it last year nga. Sayang. I wish I had, I think it only came out last year, but it's very useful for
someone starting.
Someone starting pa lang who wants to like take yung get away from the 9 to 5 and then just start their own like freelance writing gig or any kind of digital entrepreneurship thing.
Okay, last question. Where can people find you? What's your blog? And then I know you also have an Instagram account specific to liquor naman.
So you check that out. Yeah, so my blog is Travel Up, traveling-up.com. And then I'm on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, yung liquor account, that's Beer Up. That's another thing, but side quest na I like collecting craft beer. So, yun.
And for people who want to work with you, where can they get in touch with?
Yeah, from the blog, my about page is there. So if yan, I'm open to travel assignments and any opportunities. So yun.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Much.
Okay.
And that was Teach Me Senpai. I'm Julian Cyrnio. Thank you guys for watching.